The European Super League, no one knows too much about it just yet. There's going to be an announcement supposedly tonight, the 18th of April, if you're watching this back, at 9:30 p.m. And essentially, it's a European break-off league away from UEFA. It's a league that will see up to 12 to 18 European giants compete year in, year out with one another. So basically a new format for a sort of Champions League style European event. All of the big six clubs in England have signed up for it. The biggest problem that's born out of this is that it's not based on meritocracy. It isn't you win the league, you win the Europa League, you finish in the top four, you qualify. It's a set group of people like the NBA, like the NFL in America, where you're in it and that's it. You're in it, period. There's no issues, no problems. No team can grow and develop like Leicester have done in recent years and push themselves into these positions. The irony, we'll get into all the teams, of Spurs signing up for it when 5-6 years ago they weren't part of the top four. They're part of this. They're part of the top six side of things. But it's a lot of people are angry about it. A lot of people are frustrated about it. Huge signs of greed. There's worries it's going to kill the game of football. I have my own theories that I'll go into a little bit later on this. But essentially, all of the top six clubs in England, so both Manchester clubs, Liverpool, Tottenham, Arsenal and Chelsea have signed up to be part of this team. They want to leave the current European format. And the announcement's meant to be out tonight at 9:30. I'm going to go to Neeks first on this, because they've been very sort of active and sort of vocal about this in the group chats and everything else. I mean, what's your view of it? And yeah, what's your opinion on this new breakaway league?
I think it is absolutely disgusting. I said it when we first got inkling around it maybe a few months ago. It's always been mentioned, even the last few years, about this Super League, and I've never been a fan of it. And when you hear that this announcement is supposed to come out at 9:30 today, when UEFA tomorrow is supposed to bring out an announcement about a new style Champions League format, which actually is very, very similar to this this Super League format in terms of a league, and then you have a knockout competition at the end. And I think this epitomizes and it brings to the forefront all the movements of fans like Newcastle, like Manchester United, like Arsenal, who have been talking about, like Liverpool to an extent, talking about the owners that they have and how greedy these owners are, taking money out of these football clubs, not reinvesting this money, basically just in this business, this football business for money purposes alone. And of course, there's others involved who don't need the money, like the Man Cities, like the Chelseas, etc. But they're coming and taking all this money out of the game and trying to basically make this Super League, which is an elitist rich man members club, basically, and nobody's allowed in. Now, the football that we grew up on, the football that I grew up on, is all about the fairy tale. The Leicester story is one that will live forever in football. When you close that rank, when you close the club where the smaller clubs and the smaller teams have no room to grow or to enter, you take away what we call open and fair competition. In some countries, in some competitions, that's how it's set, that's how it works, and people are cool with that. But to change the nature of football club competition in the way that a select few are trying to do and move their power around to get that change, I think it's absolutely disgusting. I hope that FIFA, the FA, Premier League, and UEFA, who I don't even like 100%, but when it comes to this, I'm 100% behind them, sanctioning those who want to sign up to this.
So absolutely. So just to make a few things clear, I want to read this not a whole statement, but this is something that's been put out this afternoon. So it says this new league represents the American takeover of elite European football, which will become a closed shop run by its founding members. It is bankrolled by US banking giant JP Morgan and is the brainchild of Real Madrid president Florentino Perez and the American owners of 3 leading English clubs. For me, as I said earlier, and this wasn't a pop at American sports because they're very good at what they do. But what I've always loved, I kind of like the draft system. I think that's kind of cool. And I think it's the way you can maybe utilize that in European football to help smaller teams. But for me, this notion that you can't ever have a team that grows from the ashes and becomes a massive side is a worry for me. That fairy tale story, as Nick's pulled onto, is really, really important. And for me, the one saving grace for this is that the Premier League have to give permission for their clubs to go into it. And there's no way the Premier League are going to give permission. However, the only way, though, it depends how much money's at stake here, because the initial amount of money that's been pumped into this is £4.6 billion, and it looks set to grow from that point. It could lead, if the money's there, to the clubs like Man United and Chelsea and Liverpool leaving the Premier League as well, which, for all intents and purposes, will destroy football domestically. And the same thing in Spain and the same thing in Italy, because Inter Milan, AC Milan, Real Madrid, Barcelona, and Atletico Madrid have all signed up to this as well. Their domestic leagues could be destroyed and absolutely ripped up. It will become, I mean, it's no heart, I mean, no disrespect. They're going to become like the Scottish League. It's going to become like the Dutch League, where there's barely any money in it, and the investment isn't there, and it ruins it. And go on, mate.
I think I've just grabbed from your description. I've just grasped what this actually entails. This isn't like the Champions League where you all go away to the Champions League and compete and come back to your domestics. Is this where?
No.
The team going to one league and stay in a league.
No. So they want to be, what they want in an ideal world is to stay in the Premier League and to compete in this new European Super League. But the new European Super League, you are automatically qualified for it every year as one of the founding members. So it doesn't matter where you finish in the Prem, you're in this league, which is worth more money to you as a club than the Champions League currently is.
So, and then they're going to take away the Champions League on back of that.
Yeah,
no,
basically.
They want to compete with the Champions League and force the Champions League out.
The Super League.
But imagine the Champions
League. Those 12 clubs will not compete in Champions League, Super League, and Premier League at the same time.
Once you take away getting there on merit, you take away the competition.
Of course you do, and that's the issue here. All these big clubs want is money. I do think, though, the saving grace here is I don't think they're going to pull away from the Prem. I don't think they're actually. I think this is all a big power play, and I've been saying this for years. There's two things they want here. So I know that they have this in Spain. I'm not sure about Italy, but you negotiate your own TV money in Spain. So Real Madrid and Barcelona get the lion's share of TV money, where in the Prem it's completely and utterly split fairly amongst the international money is split fairly, and then it's based on league position and how many games you show for the rest, but it's pretty evenly spread. I felt for about 8-9 years now that the big six, they want a bigger cut of the wedge, and I think eventually that's going to be what they look as their compromise in this situation. I think what they'll turn around and say is, one sec, Johnny. I think what they'll turn around and do and say is this: we want a bigger share of Champions League revenue, and we want a bigger share of TV right money domestically, because their argument is, without us, your leagues are trash. And to a degree, they are right. They are right in that. That doesn't mean that morally they're wrong, but on a real level, if all those teams walk away from the Prem, if all those teams walk away from the Champions League, we're not watching it in the same way we do now. So I think what they're after as a bare minimum is a much bigger chunk of that money, but it still creates the same problem. And I'm a Man United fan, and I want to be top of the tree. But if we get an extra 150 million a year, that means, again, you're still going to stop the smaller teams from being able to catch you and compete, because they're never, ever going to be able to catch you financially. Adam, what's your thoughts on it, mate?
Yeah, it's like you said, you can look at it one way. I think the point you just made there was right. Without these big teams in the league, it does look like a poor league. But I think the bigger teams in the league are realising that this shared money is bringing other threats up to them as well, i.e. the Leicesters this season and last season. You know what? The West Hams are getting a bit more. Everyone's spending a lot more money, and the bigger teams are feeling more threatened. It all comes down to the likes of the Glazers, the likes of the owners at Liverpool, Arsenal. They want the ultimate franchise system where there's no pitfalls. They want to be able to have the same money every single season without being challenged on it. They don't want the relegation does not exist in American franchise. This is what they want, and it's all leading to the security of endless amounts of money pumped into them clubs. I mean, I can't personally see it. I think this is why we're hearing the sort of rumours that UEFA may extend the Champions League qualifying positions to the top 6 to guarantee a lot more money coming into them clubs as well. I think that's where them stories are coming from. I don't see how they can do it. It's taking football away from the fans, because I mean, I can only afford so much as a match-going fan. I can't afford to go out to Europe and all these destinations and more constantly. And if they take it away, then that's it. I'm done. I'm actually done if the Premier League finishes. That finishes it for me, mate. That's how serious this is, because I can't support that, mate. I can't.
110%. You know, for me, I want to go to Cam on this in a second, because obviously you watch and consume North American sports, being a Canadian. I want to understand your thoughts of having something like that in a European game. I'm a working class man, born and bred. Football is a working class man's game. I don't care the origins of it. It's a working class man's game as it stands right now. If you take it away from the working class people, if you take that dream away, if you take that competitiveness away, that ability to grow from nothing into something, I will walk away from Manchester United as a fan. I'm already fuming that my football club is doing this. When I say my football club, I'm talking about the Glazers in this board that we always complain about. If they go through with it, I will not support it. I will become a supporter of a non-league team or something. I'll start my own club, Football Terrace FC. I don't care. I'm not going to support it. But Cam, from your point of view, do you think it's a good idea for European football, which is globally watched more than any other sport in the world, to copy an NBA, NFL style league? Do you think that's a good idea?
No, because they're doing it wrong. It doesn't make sense. I'm sorry, I'm going to go on a little bit of a tangent, because I've been thinking about, like I told you, I was distracted from the game. I was trying to figure out where the crux of this comes from. And I think a few things that I'm thinking about when I think about like the American owners, like the Cronkies and the whoever else, the Glazers, this reeks of fear of falling out of relativity, or whatever you might say, being relevant for a long time. Because Arsenal's, we're seeing that, right? But they're thinking, well, we're a global franchise. We make so much money for the Prem, this or that. Lots of people support Arsenal. Arsenal is one of the biggest clubs in Canada. It's like, realistically, I've done a whole research thing on it. But they're not. They're about to be a 10th place team, continuing to fall out of European football. They don't get to compete with the big boys anymore. So what do? You start this league that you're always going to be in. So this is what they're doing here. This is a structure they're stealing from what the NFL and NBA did. People don't know this, I'm sure, because a lot of you guys don't watch the sport, but the NFL and NBA weren't always one league. They weren't. They were like smaller. It was like a smaller leagues that became bigger so they can involve all the teams across the country. So you'd have like the 76ers, which was a great team in the ABA, play against the Lakers in the NBA. Like, you wanted to see those matchups. It was important. Here's the problem with if you do this in European football. European football is run by money. There is no draft system. There is no trade system in a sense. Like, their swap deals are so rare. There is no way of moving. There are no caps. There's no salary caps. There's none of these things in place that allow for parity. There's like, it just doesn't, it's all about money. So if you create this league where the money stays with just the top teams, it is going to be literally impossible for any other team to ever be significantly relevant. And listen, I'll play a little bit devil's advocate when we talk about Champions League and who gets there and who wins it. Champions League, I'm looking at the list, has been won by the same team same teams for the last 10 years. Cool. But then you think about the quarterfinals and the semis, where you get the RB Leipzigs, the Atalantas, those teams who move forward, and they get the prize money and they start building their own reputations and they can start reinvesting. Leicesters, those teams who are able to break into the Champions League, and even getting that little bit of prize money to play in the league allows you to do what Leicester has continuously done the last few years, is grow and grow and grow, because they just keep chipping away. They get that European money, they spend right, they sell right. Cool. You create this league, you destroy it. You are destroying smaller teams and the leagues. The Premier League, as Adam said, like, what's the Premier League after that? What is La Liga already? La Liga is a 2-team league. Cool. And nobody's going to watch these leagues. So you're going to destroy the leagues to keep the money in a bunch of legitimately American-owned companies. That's what these teams look like now. They don't look like football clubs. They look like American-run companies, right? Corporations. So you have the Cronkies, you have the Glazers, you have all these people commercializing the sport. And it's embarrassing, because sport is not supposed to be a commercial entity. It's supposed to be something that's fun for everybody, that everybody can participate in. It's for the people. You're pulling football away from the people, and now you're making it an entertainment thing. It's like, cool, if I want full entertainment, I can go to the movies, right? I watch football I watch sport and football, and I watch European football because it's different than what I watch here. Like, cool. Like, we always have conversations in our group chats about the playoffs and how do I feel about not having playoffs. And I've always said I never want to see a playoffs in the Prem, because that's what makes it special. Every game, I can watch every game on a Sunday and be like, this game matters. This game matters. Like, I don't skip Man United games. I skip Raptors games. Like, I skip Eagles games because I can. I'm like, yeah, we're playing a shitty team today. I don't need to watch it.
I went to a baseball game about 2-3 years ago in Chicago, and most people don't even stay to the end. And I found out such a weird concept. I was like, why are you leaving? They said, we'll find out the result later. I like, see, our sports, You stay from start to finish, no matter what you're watching. Golf, cricket, like we don't do it's a madness.
Sorry, just one more thing.
Sorry, Cam, can I just jump in? I've got to shoot off, fellas. So I just wanted to say what Cam was saying there is exactly right. And what this will ultimately do, it will take away the connection of the fan to that football club. It will just destroy it. There will be nothing. I won't feel connected. Cam nailed it there. It's like going to the pictures. You said it right, Terry, with the baseball game. I've done the same thing. It's a show. It's like a show, mate. It's like you just come and go as you please. It's like there's no build-up. It's like you can just cruise in when you want, and that's ultimately what it's like.
It's like going to Covent Garden and watching the street performers. It's very, very different. Listen, Adam, thanks for coming on today, mate, and having your say.
I'll see you all soon, guys.
Top man. Take care.
Sorry, just one more thing, Terry. One more thing, so I don't forget. This is an important fact. The only way this thing would ever work, and it's cool that Gal's here because he can attest to this, is if you introduce literally all of the things that keep American sports parity, where it's like the draft system, cap, all that, wages. Like you can't, like the cap system. Then maybe cool, it might work because I support one of the smallest teams in the NBA, the Raptors, when it comes to our fan base, and we won a championship 3 years ago or whatever. Because of all those systems in place. We went through the draft. You have cap. You can stop the big teams. If you don't do that, we're just going to see the same teams winning over and over again, and it's dead.
Totally agree. I want to go to Gal, but just KJ, I want to grab your thoughts on it, mate.
It's an absolute disgrace. An absolute disgrace that this is happening. And I've been screaming about these pagans are called the Glazers, for the whole season. But I hope now that everyone who are what, the Glazers ain't that bad. But they spend money. They realize what they're here for. They ain't here for football. These owners aren't here for football. They are here to make money. And that's all they care about. And the thing is, we can scream about managers all we want. We can scream about players all we want. But these people are the ones that run this sport. And if they're the ones going corrupt, if they're the ones going left, our sport goes left. You won't be screaming about managers anymore. You won't be screaming about players no more, because what would be the point? Because it wouldn't matter. Because we will be totally non-existent when it comes to us having a say. We're basically on the verge of extinction anyway. The fans are on the verge of extinction. This move would just completely erase us from the sport, and it's an absolute disgrace. These football owners need to get checked in, need to get reined in, because they should not be coming into the sport to change it into a thing that don't even work in the country that it's based in. The MLS sucks.
Do you know what's mad?
For a reason.
Do you know what's mad about it? Do you know what's mad about this as well, right? Fans have got to step up and do it. I know fans from all around the world are important, but in this argument now, match-going fans have the biggest play. The reason that the Premier League makes so much money, and I've spoke to marketers about this that work in that industry, is the unique noise they make. The unique noise in the full stadiums that we have week in, week out in this country. It's what makes the atmosphere. We've all accepted football in the way they've done it in the last year or so because we know it's coming back. If we don't turn up to games, and I say we as in the football fan bases, and games are quiet and drab, doesn't matter who's playing, they lose something. They have to do something to try and take away from this. Igal, you wanted the link to come on and have your say. What's your thoughts, mate?
Don't compare this to anything in relation to North American sports. It's nothing comparable. What they're basically trying to do is they're basically trying to say, we're going to have our leagues, we're going to have this, we're going to have everything. And you know what? On top of that, we're going to make something else to make us more money and keep it within house. This is greed on its most highest level. This is not parity. This is not trying to create parity. This is not trying to create something for the TV people. This is not trying to create anything for anybody else. This is strictly to keep the power at their hands, because they're seeing Atlanta, they're seeing Leicester, they're seeing all these other clubs that they didn't see as threats coming up and being threats. And you know what? As an Arsenal fan, I'm ashamed. I'm absolutely ashamed of Stan Kroenke and the board looking at this as a part in a way to keep the club relevant, to keep the club higher. You know what? If you really cared, spend money on actual investments like players that are going to improve this club. people in the boardroom that are going to improve the club. Make changes for yourselves. Don't try to find a cop out. And guys, don't ever compare this to MLS. MLS does not do this. This is not the MLS. This is NFL.
So what we're saying, when I compare it to the American sports, the element I'm comparing it to is the non-relegation element. In terms, as you say, you're both right, and I understand that element of American sports. If you're the worst team, you get the best draft picks. As an example, it's not like we're going to do. It isn't like the team that comes bottom in the European Super League gets to pick the next Messi and Mbappe coming through. Yeah, if they were doing that, then maybe you could argue there's a little bit of something saying, but no, there ain't no.
Here's where it makes sense to me why they're trying to do this. They're trying to get more money into it, right? The only way they're going to get more money into it is if they get people who are willing to invest more money without the risk of losing and relegation and possibly not being in the. If they do get a European Super League, the only thing that they could benefit is they would be able to get. Like the owner from the Patriots, Robert Kraft, would be willing to now invest, because he specifically is one person who said verbatim, I will never buy a football club until relegation is gone, because I don't want to risk putting that much money into a team that could possibly lose value just in one season. And that's the only thing they're trying to do. They're trying to protect their assets.
And it's obvious. It's all about money. It's purely and simply all about money. For these individuals, and as you've said, if Arsenal want to be a Champions League team, run yourselves like a Champions League team. Man United want to stay at the top of the tree, run yourselves like you want to be top of the tree. Where I feel so sorry for the Leicesters, for the Evertons, for the Wolves, even to a degree. I know we had a guy on today. Clubs like Burnley's and people like this, they are tiny in comparison to our football clubs, but they run themselves impeccably to be able to get somewhere near, or in some cases now surpass, some of the gigantic teams in Europe in how they play and operate. And yes, some of them have had rich owners that have come and invested in them, but they've had to be run well. They've had to be run impeccably well. And who really stand out to me here, and I've praised them a lot recently, is Man City. Man City don't need the money from this, but the reason they've signed up, I almost know it's, what though? There's no point being a shark in a tiny little pond anymore. We've got to go with them, and that's the thing with all of this. Some of the teams, I think Spurs, and I think City, and maybe even Chelsea to a degree, I think they might have thought it's not really for us, really. But if this does happen, and all the big boys in Europe go, we have to jump ship with them. It's almost like a domino effect.
Nobody's willing to take other than the German sides. No, and PSG's not in it.
No.
Okay, they're not willing. None of them are willing to take a moral stand. So whilst Man City and Chelsea don't need it, or their owners are not even thinking about how much richer they can get in from this, they're not willing to take the moral stand for the sake of football. Now, for me, are you as to blame as for Florentino Perez or Joe Glazer? That's up to you to decide. They're all as bad as each other, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah,
Johnny.
Duncan Castles, about 3 months ago. Duncan Castles, I don't know he's not the most top tier journalist, but he did quite a detailed podcast on this, and he said even if the FA and the Premier League block it, that the people like the Glazers and the Kroenkes, they've got a backdoor way, and they've got another route to it anyway. So even if they say no, it's still going to happen.
You've got to remember, money can be the root to all evils, and the problem is even the Premier League may end up having to bow down. This can go through courts. This can go through mediation, courts, and appeals, and everything else. But if in the end of the day, the Premier League teams say that the big teams say they're leaving the Prem will have to bend over and say, okay, do your Super League then, because the Premier League can't afford to lose the English team. They've got them bent over a barrel, because the one thing they are right about, morally wrong but factually correct about, if Man United, Arsenal, Chelsea, and Liverpool left the Premier League, the viewing figures, I believe, would drop by about 70-80%. That's all the money gone anyway. So
actually imagine it.
What about the UEFA threat? What about the UEFA threat to the players? If we all leave, but they threaten them for no World Cup and no Euro.
All right.
What's going to happen is Mbappe is going to play for Russia, the Russian teams. That's what he's going to play for. Because if all the big teams are now not allowed to play, I'm not going to lie to you. The French players, some of these players for big international countries, they are not going to risk their international future for Arsenal or for Manchester City.
What I would say, I think something Terry touched on right at the beginning in terms of, I think, and I hope, but I do think that it's a bit of a power play. I don't think these clubs they are 100% going to leave in, say, I don't know when the proposal, maybe 2 years, 3 years, whatever it might be, the deadline they put it on. But as you said, what they want, the demands that they've kind of been put into UEFA and the Premier League haven't really been listened to. So they've kind of said, well, we're going to do this unless you listen to us. Now,
but Nick, best believe, right? If the Glazers and the Kroenkes, if they really think that this is going to make them millions and millions more, best believe they're going to go.
Yes, but UEFA are set tomorrow to bring out this new Champions League proposal. Now, the only way you're going to keep those teams who are willing to go to a Super League is if you give them something more within that proposal, and that's money. So you say it doesn't even have to be.
It's the Swiss model.
It doesn't even have to be a guaranteed. No matter where you finish, you are in the league. But when you are in the league, this is the percentage of the revenue you get. You look at Ferrari in F1, they get a percentage of just being in F1. They get a higher percentage share because they are a brand that has been there from the beginning and they've helped sustain F1 through their branding and their success.
Is it FIFA?
Let me say one thing.
Tomorrow,
one sec, guys.
If tomorrow Ferrari folded and said, "All right, we can't afford to be in F1," another team will come in. Whereas in this format, you are in F1, so you are in the Super League regardless of what happens. If Ferrari finish bottom of the championship, they're going to get a smaller amount of the prize fund by being in the championship, by being bottom of the championship. Whereas in this one, regardless of what happens, you're getting the same money, you can buy the same players, you're playing the same teams every year, regardless of how you perform. And I hope that UEFA can do enough to make sure that these teams don't leave, because it's
on a football level, I love the Champions League because you rarely play the big European sides. If it's week in, week out, the novelty will wear off.
Yeah,
the novelty will wear off. And also, a big game's a big game because they don't happen every week, even domestically. Exactly. I wouldn't want a Man United City, a Man United Liverpool, a Man United Arsenal every weekend. I've got barely any hair left as it is.
It'll be boring. It'll be boring. It takes away from the beauty that is the Champions League because it's so rare. It happens. We don't face Real Madrid every week. Heck, we don't even face Madrid every freaking year. So when it does happen, it's like, oh yes, this is cool. It's amazing. It sells. If it happens 100%. Week in, week out, what's the point?
No, 110%. 1 second, go. Listen, Johnny, thank you very much for coming on, mate. Top man. Thank you. Because we've got a Ram here from a Liverpool fan's point of view as well. I was wanting to get your opinions quickly on this, Ram, from a Liverpool fan's perspective.
I am absolutely astounded at what happened. I am embarrassed. Honestly, I am embarrassed. I didn't think it would get any worse with these owners, but now they've just done it. Signing up to a league where you're sort of in your comfort zone, not letting any of the smaller teams build themselves up and go into European competitions, absolute greed. I feel sorry for the likes of your Aston Villas, your Leicesters, and even the smaller teams in the lower divisions that have fallen from grace. Make no doubt about this. Every team in the lower divisions wants to play in the Champions League. They want to be with the likes of Real Madrid. They want to be playing against the likes of Bayern Munich. And this just doesn't give them the chance to do it. Like, honestly, I feel so sorry. I'll give you an example, right? My dad saw his team, Nottingham Forest, be playing against the likes of Hamburg back in the day. Now that he doesn't have that chance to see it again, because this system doesn't allow a team like Forest to build themselves up, go back into the Premier League and try their very best to get into the Champions League and be where he feels that they should belong. It's absolutely disgraceful. And big up the German teams. Big up the German teams. Do you know why they didn't sign it up? Because they have football players and fans that run the club. Karl-Heinz Rummenigge, a former Bayern Munich player. Uli Hoeneß, who used to be one of the presidents of Bayern Munich, former Bayern Munich player. Michael Zorc, a former Borussia Dortmund legend. These are men that are running their football clubs. They are not these American owners that want to get their own money. It's absolutely disgraceful. And in a Liverpool perspective, I'm going to have to say this. I want the likes of Sir Kenny Dalglish, an ambassador for Liverpool Football Club, to say something, because this is utterly disgraceful. I don't know about United. I don't know who.
Mate, do you know what, bro? I agree with you. I think if Dalglish, if Fergie, if Wenger, I'm trying to think of a big Tottenham legend, that's hard. You know, if you have these big legends from these clubs, Vieira, like Vieira, maybe older people that have won the major things at these clubs, the Ian Wrights of this world, they all need to be coming out. But it's more so the people that are still connected to the clubs, got director roles. Although Fergie's director role is ceremonious, they need to be coming out. And if they're silent on this, they're complicit. If they're silent on this, they're complicit. And something needs to be said and done about it. The managers and players, I think they need to keep quiet because I do. I just think it's not a place for them to.
They haven't even been consulted on this.
Yeah,
they have not even been consulted. That's how dangerous it is.
Yeah,
they haven't
of course.
Even been consulted.
Legally, the players will have to stay silent because there'll be clauses in their contracts already where they're not allowed to speak about club affairs publicly. Most businesses, all of our companies make you do that. Like when I worked at Barclays, you couldn't talk about the company, tweet about them, unless it was something nice. They don't mind you doing that. Harry Redknapp's got to be against it. No, but it's board members and whatnot. But the board have agreed to it, so let's see what happens there. Go on, Miguel. Final point, mate.
I wanted to get on to, I sent you a message the other day about the Swiss model, and we all probably have seen it. So Swiss model is it is sort of a league. It's Champions League, but they add a couple more teams and they make it in like a tier format where you play 10 games. That could still happen, right? And this could be the solution to the gateway between the two things.
That's the announcement tomorrow, Gal. The UEFA.
Yeah. Right. But at the same time, this is the bigger issue. Do you think that they are just upset? Like I remember Roma being upset about Atlanta. Obviously, Arsenal, the owners are not happy with the situation. Clubs are not happy with the situation. Will this situation happen again in another 5 years' time with the next situation? Because no matter what the solution is, it's going to keep happening.
So what's happening now for me? I was a union member for 15 years or so, and this is a much bigger and public scale. But that's what used to go on there. The workers want X. The company says, no, you're getting Y. And then strike action takes place and you get the union reps that go in and get Z. And Z was normally, sometimes you get 60% of what you want. Sometimes you get 20% of what you want. Sometimes it was amazing. You got 90% of what you wanted. It depends who has the power play. And right now, in my opinion, as far as I can see, the big clubs have the power play because they have the monopoly of the fans. But you're right. They see people coming up behind them going, they're going to catch us in 10, 15 years. We need to do something now. And in another 10, 15 years, there'll be another issue. And then there'll be another one. And when there's money involved, there's always going to be things like this that go on. You know, when you're in a free market, when you live in a capitalist society where they have the freedoms to do this, it will happen. You can't stop it because you definitely don't want it being state run. That's 110%. Like that'd be even worse. But it's a madness. Viewers, we want your views. We want your opinions on this right about now. But everyone who's tuned into today's show, thank you.